Hi everyone, this is Christopher Salata, co-founder of Peace Accelerators, and we are at the AREDAY conference, American Renewable Energy Day. Just turned into 4 days of renewable energy, but really it's been so much more. I mean, so many dynamic leaders from all over the globe, such as Parvati, who's visiting from Canada, from Toronto.
Yeah.
And so Parvati is the founder of MAPS, which is the Marine Arctic Peace Sanctuary. And I run Peace Accelerators with some other co-founders, and I just feel like there's a lot of synergy between our organizations. I really want a lot more people in my network to know a lot more about what you're doing, because it's so influential and so beautiful, and I think that there's a lot of synergy over the next few years and things that we can do together.
Great.
So why don't we start out by just saying, or asking, tell us a little bit about MAPS.
MAPS is, what do you want to look at here? MAPS is keeping everything above the Arctic Circle, so everything in the Arctic Ocean above the Arctic Circle off limits. It's really that simple. It's like drawing, where the Arctic Circle is and keeping it off limits, everybody out. And so it's no exploitation, free from exploitation in perpetuity.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons is because there's a lot of oil in this region, right? Is one of the reasons you're wanting to protect it, to make sure that we don't.
It's actually very simple. I mean, the Arctic ice is the planet's air conditioning system, and it's under threat in many, many different ways. And so to just say everybody out is one of the simplest ways to let it regenerate. Certainly Arctic ice, Arctic oil rather, is one of the things that scientists say we should not be even considering if we want to keep, under 2 degrees Celsius. So what MAPS does definitely is it takes Arctic oil off the table for good, and that catalyzes a global pivot to renewable energy, which is obviously fabulous. But there's also shipping and fishing and other things that are going on in the Arctic as the ice is melting that we also need to stop, because what happens with shipping, for example, the dirty fuels that come out of the ship lands on the ice and further accelerates the thaw of the ice. Because what people don't know is that the Arctic ice reflects 50% of the heat from the sun away from our planet.
Albedo?
Albedo effect. And so as the ice is melting, when there's now 75% less sea ice than there was even just 50 years ago, 90% of the heat now from the sun is going straight into the ocean. So it's like a little boiling pot, right? So as the ice is melting, the world is getting hotter, and as the world is getting hotter, the ice is melting. So it's like this vicious cycle. And so what MAPS does is it just really protects a critical and highly endangered area, so it can have a chance to regenerate.
And so you've created a treaty that people can sign in order to. Is there a certain amount of signatures that you are looking to get, and that's through the United Nations?
Yeah.
Correct?
So what happened is right now, under the Arctic Ocean is pretty much unprotected. There's very minimal marine protected areas. And so what we did is we took really the unprecedented step of creating a treaty that is an addendum to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And we need 99 signatures from world leaders in order for it to become ratified. We have one so far. More are yeah, I know, one is just great.
Yeah, it's probably the hardest one.
We're at things are starting to accelerate. We're looking at a few more coming very soon.
And these need to be presidents?
It needs to be world leaders.
So,
world leader and
nation state.
So what we did is we translated the treaty into the 6 official languages of the United Nations, sent it to all 193 member nations, and we've been following up ever since. Sent it again, and
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you meet with one of our friends? Lindsay is with Earth Today. Did you guys chat a little bit? They're planting the Earth flag on the North Pole this year, and I feel like that using that symbology as maybe a marketing piece.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's great to have we need a paradigm shift. I mean, that's what I love about MAPS, in that it's not just everybody out, but it's like in order for people to understand that we need to get out, there's a shift that has to happen.
Absolutely.
And I also love the way actually Lindsay was using media, because that's really important to our strategy. I'm a musician, and what we found that I was able to use, the way I have stuff on pop radio, and then, I can put little stings on the radio and say, hey, this is my single, make sure you sign the MAPS, the petition, which anybody can sign, not just world leaders. So it's great. We have to capitalize on the way that we can use the modern media into our to what we need it to do.
Yeah, I spoke with Paul about that last night, about how the media uses different strategies in order to kind of encapsulate our attention. We're living in such an attention economy where even all the algorithms they're putting into AI now are built to almost enslave us. Not just enslave us, but but really keep as much of our attention as possible so they can use marketing
It's like, I
dollars.
call it zombie.
Yeah.
Becoming zombies, right?
Yeah, and it would be really great for us. I think all these peace organizations that are here together, meeting with some of these advertising companies. How do we use these psychological effects for our own benefit for maps and things like that? Which
definitely.
you are. So you're and explain. So you are a musician.
I'm
as
a
well.
musician. I'm actually a music producer, like a musician, touring musician. That's what I love. And I had I mentioned it in the talk, but I had a recurring dream of a whale, and that's what ended up calling me to the North Pole, where I went to sing to raise awareness. I realized I have a voice. I can use it for the greater good. You know, but you know, there's also, I think, very much when you create music or create any art, you know, the kind of the state of mind or the consciousness that you're in gets infused into that piece. So for me, it's also it's about the consciousness that's in the music as well, and it ranges from EDM to electronica to new age. Like it's whatever is arising in that moment. But I'm a complete nerd. Like I'm in the music studio all the time. You know, like me and my gear and like making sounds and listening.
Canada is such rich, so many amazing bands.
There's a lot of great music.
So do you tour with? Can we catch a show? Or
I'm about to start. I've been in the studio literally for the last 4 months, just wrapping
Recent
up some
album,
stuff.
or?
Recent album. I just finished a track called Ocean Anthem. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's beautiful. I'm
Let's
like
get Sylvia Earle in the video.
you know, we
and
actually
Captain Palmer.
we have some. We've partnered with different ocean people for footage. You know that we didn't have. Yeah, it's going to be great. So there's.
And that's already released. That's coming.
We were going to actually release it in AREDAY, but we didn't quite get all the editing.
Okay.
Like
Okay, so
little,
yeah.
we're just almost there.
Cool.
Yeah, so that'll be soon. But I have the ability to also reach the yoga market because I'm also a yoga teacher.
Amazing.
And so I've created some yoga content, not only music but also book and CD, DVD, whatever. So we're gonna do a multi kind of demographic release really for different because people need to know. I just feel people have the right to know that the Arctic ice is melting. There's a very simple solution. It's affecting you now. You know, they have the right to know.
Totally.
Yeah.
One community we're really involved with in New York that's somewhat new. They opened in November. It's called the Assemblage. And the Assemblage is
Assemblage?
the Assemblage. It's a co-working space that they raised around $500 million through crowdfunding to build these 3 co-working spaces. They're all dedicated to collaboration for the future of humanity, and they've had some incredible musicians come through. Deepak Chopra just spoke there recently. I mean, all sorts of authors.
Great.
But next time that you're in New York, if you're speaking at the UN, we'd love to also maybe do a few of your songs
Sure,
and have you speak about maps as
love
well.
to. Anytime.
Because we have a lot of really engaged activists.
That's
out in that
great.
community.
I would love
So,
that. I would love
yeah,
that.
it'd be so
It's all
awesome.
about that, isn't it? It's about just boosting the signal, working together, and and raising the vibration, right?
Yes,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
The two white people, like raise the vibration.
I'm a believer in blue consciousness as well. So I spoke about this. This is the Earth flag.
Gorgeous. I
and,
love this logo.
Yeah, it's a way of saying that we should all collaborate.
Did you actually find
planet-wide.
it from somewhere? Because it looks a
They
little
made
bit
it in
like
Sweden.
a yantra.
Yeah,
no, but
well,
the actual design.
So it was a Swedish designer. His name's Oscar Pernefelt. His belief was that we need a symbol for the planet to unite around. One thing that I'm focused on, I'll give a sneak preview of my long-term work. But I'm really focused on what is the next paradigm of planetary leadership. Love the UN. I think there was a lot of problems with the UN.
I got you. You don't need
but,
to go.
but I think that we need something that's a little bit more efficient and maybe influential to the normal populace, and also that's participatory. Most normal citizens all across the earth don't get to participate in the UN. They vote for some of their nation-state leaders, which participate in their own ways. But it's also really clogged and bureaucratic, and so we're focused on how blockchain technologies can be used for voting, and then you can use that to actually hold global votes. And that's kind of our focus in the 2020s that we're working towards right now. But I'd like to, so in that realm, my last kind of, this might be probably my last question. You're talking about some of these new paradigms. I'd like to, what I'm really interested in is I'm a futurist. I study a lot of philosophy, and I'm actually developing my own and writing my own philosophy that I look to publish hopefully around 2020. I'd like to know what you think about the direction, especially coming from Canada, from a different lens, because there's a lot happening. On one side, I personally feel like there's this really beautiful underlayer where like the world is really waking up in almost a collective sense. But then there's also kind of this surface layer where you see a lot of problems in our political structures, at least in the United States for sure. And then you also have all these environmental challenges. And so I guess I'd like to know a little bit about what you're kind of maybe you can say a few predictions or what you think is going to happen, or just some things that you believe in or working towards for the future.
You know, I think that the fundamental disease in humanity at this time is greed, and it's based on disconnect, a fundamental misperception that we're disconnected. And because of that disconnect, for me, the antidote is awakening the truth of the reality that we're all interconnected.
Yes.
So everything that I do, whether it's music, you know, yoga or books, it's all about awakening that interconnection. And I really feel that that's going to be that's the kind of the undercurrent that you're talking about. And it's like a flower, like your logo. It's like a flower, you know, that's going to arise through the concrete. And so just focus on what's real, you know, because we can, and we've seen it through history, that we go down the rabbit hole of all these kind of like crazy ideas and create a lot of suffering, you know. So the alleviation from suffering has to arise from that still connection of our, that still wise knowing of our inherent interconnection. That's all I'm focusing on. You know,
Well
that's
said.
what's real.
Well said. And what I'm seeing with that is technology is almost this outward manifestation of our own consciousness evolving. And that's why I love some of this blockchain. Not just blockchain, but what I do is what I'm seeing is our currency is in a very infant stage of evolution that has never happened really in human history. And what Bill spoke about a little bit, Bill Ty, which I'll do an interview with as well, is he spoke about the relationship between energy and money, which we moved kind of from the gold standard then to the petrodollar. A lot of people don't realize how much our U.S. national currency is attached to oil. But what's happening, and we're in this inflection point, is it seems that we're now about to attach renewable energy to the digital currencies. As that happens, it kind of awakens new realms of sharing it and less avarice, which is what you're talking.
I mean, look at the setting we're in, right? We're like surrounded by this cornucopia of abundance, Mother Nature, right? And for me, that's the primary inspiration that I return to again and again. At whatever level of abundance you want to be talking about, to me, if it's in resonance with nature, it's sustainable, right?
Yes, exactly. And last question. So, how can we help? So we have a large community of very influential people in New York and people that really want to change the world for the better as fast as possible. What would be some easy ways that we can help MAPS? Or obviously you're looking for 100 signatures or 99?
It's actually 99. So, well, right now 98, right?
Oh,
We
cool.
got the one, right? So we need 98 left to go,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's 98 signatures, and that's from world leaders.
Cool.
So obviously world leaders respond when people demand it. So you know, we can go top down, but bottom up. So bottom up, you know, really grassroots, getting people to know that they can do something as simple as signing and sharing a petition. It's parvati.org, and signing the MAPS petition, sharing it. That's one way, you know, and writing a letter to your government and say we want MAPS now.
Cool.
You know, that's.
And what is your personal thought on the timeline on that? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, what are some of the threats of the Arctic being disrupted as of now? I mean, are there people already looking to get in there instantly that we are already trying to hold back?
Let's put it this way: when I went up there a few years ago, I was told by the Canadian government to not go because one, the ice is very thin and it's dangerous to be on it, but also because there's a lot of land claims, military kind of activity going on. I don't think we should focus on that. I think we need to just stay again clear that we need to let it be a kind of like a Switzerland, like a neutral zone, everybody out, and so I don't know. I think just keep it very simple.
Cool. And this is preservation also of species. I mean, there's a lot of important species that only inhabit that area.
Yeah, the Arctic the Arctic Ocean is really a linchpin for our entire planet. Like it's absolutely essential ecosystem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, so much for your work. Thank you for your time. Very inspired with everything that you're doing.
Likewise.
And we'd love to invite you. I think off the camera, we've already invited you, but International Day of Peace, September 21st.
Yeah, you know what? May every day be an International Day of Peace.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really ultimately. I'll stress that again, that for me, everything that I do has to arise from stillness.
Yeah.
And I think, if we're looking at any kind of againstness, we need to be willing to shake that out. Because I think, it's like, I'm doing this, you're doing that, and then we start doing this. And then we're just back into the same problem,
Well
So
said.
the focus on peace, the focus on interconnection, the focus on loving ourselves, loving each other, respect, kindness, they're like basic core principles that are sort of throughout time, that have always guided us, We need to really focus on those. I think that's our anchor point.
Well said. Yeah, the collaboration instead of
Yeah.
any form of competition
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So yeah, September 21st. I can't wait to hear your ocean anthem.
Yeah, and
which will
many
be
more
out
to come. Lots
very
more
soon.
stuff to come.
Cool,
Lots more stuff.
Cool.
Very
and we can
excited.
find you on Spotify or
You know
what's your
what?
favorite?
Not yet, actually. We haven't done.
What's the easiest way to find your music?
Well, go to parvati.tv.
Cool.
That's all my music's on .tv. But anybody who signs the petition or whatever, I'll be sure that people know when stuff comes out, because it's all dedicated to maps.
Awesome.
All the music.
Awesome. Well, good luck with all in any way that we can support, we will. And anytime I meet a world leader, every president I meet, which is
Good one.
very
yeah.
often.
Yeah, just do that.
I'll be saying, have you signed maps? Before I even speak, have you signed maps yet?
Good. I love this.
Yeah, I'll boycott the meeting, and I'm sure that they really want
I
to.
won't have a
unless
meeting with
they-
you until
yeah.
you sign the maps treaty.
Exactly.
Thank you. We're done.
You're so lovely. I'm really happy that we got to meet.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
such
you.
a
I'll give
pleasure.
you a hug when we stand up. Oh.
All right.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
and
Thank you.
that's maps. All
Thank
right.
you.
Cool.
Thank you.